Hello, this is R.J. Deacon reading the Supreme Court of the United States opinion syllabus in City of Chicago versus Fulton, certiorari to the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. If you'd like to support the podcast, please stay tuned to the end of the podcast. Argued October 13th, 2020. Decided January 14th, 2021. The filing of a petition under the Bankruptcy Code automatically creates an estate that, with some exceptions, comprises all legal or equitable interests of the debtor in property as of the commencement of that case. That's 11 U.S.C. Section 541A. Section 541 is intended to include within the estate any property made available by other provisions of the Bankruptcy Code. Section 542 is one such provision, as it provides that an entity in possession of property of the bankruptcy estate shall deliver to the trustee and account for that property. The filing of a petition also automatically operates as a stay, applicable to all entities, of efforts to collect pre-petition debts outside the bankruptcy forum, Section 362A, including any act to obtain possession of property of the estate or of property from the estate, or to exercise control over property of the estate, Section 362A3. Here, each respondent filed a bankruptcy petition and requested the City of Chicago return his or her vehicle, which had been impounded for failure to pay fines for motor vehicle infractions. In each case, the city's refusal was held by a bankruptcy court to violate the automatic stay. The Seventh Circuit affirmed, concluding that by retaining possession of the vehicles, the city had acted to exercise control over respondents' property in violation of Section 362A3. The Supreme Court held, Justice Alito delivered the opinion of the court, vacated and remanded. The mere retention of estate property after the filing of a bankruptcy petition does not violate Section 362A3 of the Bankruptcy Code. Under that provision, the filing of a bankruptcy petition operates as a stay of any act to exercise control over the property of this estate. Taken together, the most natural reading of these terms is that Section 362A3 prohibits affirmative acts that would disturb the status quo of estate property as of the time when the bankruptcy petition was filed. Respondents' alternative reading would create at least two serious problems. First, reading Section 362A3 to cover more or mere retention of property would render 542's central command that an entity in possession of certain estate property shall deliver to the trustee such property largely superfluous, even though Section 542 appears to be the provision governing the turnover of estate property. Second, respondents' reading would render the commands of Section 362A3 and Section 542 contradictory. Section 542 carves out exceptions to the turnover command. Under respondents' reading, an entity would be required to turn over property under Section 362A3, even if that property were exempt from turnover under Section 542. The history of the Bankruptcy Code confirms the better reading. The code originally included both Section 362A3 and Section 542A, but the former provision lacked the phrase or to exercise control over property of the estate. When that phrase was later added by amendment, Congress made no mention of transforming Section 362A3 into an affirmative turnover obligation. It is unlikely that Congress would have made such an important change simply by adding the phrase exercise control, rather than by adding cross-reference to Section 542A or some other indication that it was so transforming Section 362A3. Decision below is vacated and remanded. Justice Alito delivered the opinion of the court, in which all other members joined except Justice Barrett, who took no part in the consideration or decision of the case. Justice Sotomayor filed a concurring opinion. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to support the podcast or support me as I slog through law school, please find the podcast on Patreon or follow the PayPal link in the show notes. If you'd like to get a hold of me, I can be reached at rhodesscholar80@gmail.com. That's ROADS and the number 80.